maybe he reveals his lightsaber next episode. He found a kyber crystal.
That's that lights. Okay, got it. Yep. Perhaps it's that. Perhaps.
What lightsaber?
I mean, he's been by himself for a long time, John.
Never mind.
I mean, anyways, he just seemed
Innuendos.
He just seemed very happy.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
Why is the Force connected?
I am a Jedi. Always do, Jedi.
We're a dyad in the Force.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Force Dyad Podcast. This is episode 59. Wherever, whenever, and however you may be listening, we are honored that you've joined us. After months of waiting, we are finally graced with the appearance of our favorite Chiss Admiral. And not quite everything is as it seems on Pridia. We have Ezra and Sabine reunited at last, but at what cost? And so tons to talk about, so we can't wait. So sit back and relax. This is where the fun begins. I don't know why I did. See, that's the thing. Like, we used to do the intro like that, and then we put the theme song in there. And now we don't do that anymore. So, I'm your host, Obi Sean, joined, as always, by my co-host with the most, Jedi John. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I was waiting for you to keep going, and then you're just like, I'm pausing for effect.
Yeah,
yes, you are.
That was the old intro took over briefly. And
hey, it's cool to go vintage sometimes.
I don't think we've done that intro for like 30 episodes now.
Probably not, but it's nice. It's nice to go back to the classics and just relive them a little bit.
It is.
I understand.
Vintage is in these days. Antique and vintage. So
yeah. Speaking of vintage, I don't know if you heard, but over the weekend, Taylor Swift was at the Chiefs game. I don't know if you saw anything about that.
I may have seen it on Red Zone. Yes.
Oh yeah, just like 10,000 times.
I didn't dare open social media because I didn't care.
I'm not sure that they're gonna get back together. Oh wait, they're not together. Wait, hold on. No, yeah, that story was they're not dating. That's right, and they're still not dating. I don't even know.
They're not official.
I have no idea actually. I'm just making crap up at this point. I just got tired of seeing her face on my television when she doesn't play football, and I don't care who's in the players' booths.
I saw one clip of her cursing, and I didn't think that Taylor Swift cursed, so that changed a lot for me. But yeah,
made her more hot, didn't it?
I'm not much of a Swiftie myself, but I'm sure there are plenty out there who can't believe that she's with Travis, and others who are like, I know Rob, a lifelong Chiefs fan and season ticket holder, is like, I swear to God, if she messes with him and messes with his mind, and he ends up like screwing himself up, he is gonna be pissed.
Yeah. I just laughed because it was all over everywhere. But one of the best memes I saw was like a cartoon meme of the Chiefs player with who'd they play, the Raiders? No, who'd they play?
No, they played the Bears.
They played the Bears. Sorry,
Bears.
And it was the Chiefs player had the caption like Swifty's first football game ever, and it's just the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the Bears because they got trampled obviously all game, so it didn't matter.
Destroyed.
I'm like, yeah, a bunch of Swifties are just. Obviously they got to root for the Chiefs, so
that's right.
They're piling on the Bears. Sorry.
Chiefs Kingdom got about 10 billion more fans.
10 billion more people. Yeah.
Even though that's not possible, but I digress. So real quick, before we jump into the actual episode, a bit of housekeeping. So this will be the last sort of heads up or reminder about CapeCon 2023. It's this weekend, September 29th through October 1st, down in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. We will be in the podcast lounge Saturday evening at 7 p.m. So if you're down that way, please come out and hang out with us. And if not, if you can't make it out, then be sure to check the live stream on their Facebook page. The links and whatnot will be in the description. And if
We're
you're
gonna have a
new,
blast. We're gonna have a couple giveaways out there. I think. A couple
yes, we,
giveaways.
we will be bringing the merch. So if you
Yeah.
would like a hat, I don't know if we have any extra shirts, but definitely
We
have
do
some
not.
hats. And there'll be stickers and stuff like that. So yeah, there'll be some giveaways. Jedi John has a fully stocked toy room that he's looking to get rid of all of his, $800 pops. So definitely going to be giving away none of those. But
None of those. Yep. But
no false advertisement here.
I've got some good stuff to give away to people. Don't worry about it.
It better not be a Rose Tico Black Series figure.
They would only be so lucky.
But if you do, it better come with all of its accessories. So remember, small pieces.
Well, no promises there.
So, but if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome as well. If you do enjoy what you're going to hear here ahead, please be sure to follow the show, leave a rating, subscribe, do all that fun stuff on social media. We really do appreciate it. And be sure to follow us at our social channels, which will be in the show notes, so we can keep the conversation rolling long after the podcast equipment goes to bed. And so with that, let's dive on in to episode 6, Far, Far Away, which can I just say that opening scene with Hu Yang and Ahsoka and him doing the
So good still.
that was, I don't think I recognized how cool that was in the moment. It was only
Oh,
after,
yeah.
After rewatching it about 4 times that I was like, oh wow, this is like really monumental.
What a meta joke.
Well, it made me think, the Star Wars stories that we watch, right, are the Star Wars stories that they tell themselves in the Star Wars universe, right? Like it's like their folk tales, right? Their mythology as told through their perspective, but we get to watch it. It was like you said, it's very, very meta.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So,
I did chuckle when you said it. So I'm like, yes.
well, and I appreciate it, and I've seen a couple different incarnations, I guess, of what History of the Galaxies Part 1, 2, and 3 represent. So when I first watched it, and I think I posted a tweet about this, it reminded me of History of the World, the Mel Brooks film. And so I laughed, right? Which Kara didn't quite get because she's not as well versed in the Mel Brooks as I am. But then I saw other people talk about how Part 1, 2, and 3 were meant to represent the prequel, OT, and sequel trilogy. And Ahsoka's favorite was, of course, the prequel trilogy. How did you interpret that phrasing?
Oh, very similar. I mean, I just, I think it was just one of those lines I threw in just to make sure that we understood. Like, we've already heard Baylan talking about. Like, I immediately went to what Baylan's been saying the entire time. Like, those are stories that they used to tell us as young Jedi at the temple. Like, this is all legend or myth and everything else. And it's the same thing he went into. Like, I guarantee Hu Yang was the one that was telling the dang stories to all these kids. So, pretty crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So we will keep the episode recap brief, and I promise it will be brief because I've already talked about one of my little bullet points, and the other is we get Thrawn, Night Sisters, Ezra, Night Troopers. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the 4 big...
In an order that would be
not in order of importance. I think.
Surprise you.
Although maybe the night troopers will be higher up. I guess we'll find out. But that's the episode, right? Thrawn, Night Sisters / Great Mothers, Ezra, Night Troopers. So that's your episode recap in 30 seconds. So.
Yay!
I did
recap.
it. I did it. So for you, what was your first of all, how many times you watch it, and then what were your initial reactions, favorite scenes, and question marks that you took
So
away?
I watched it twice, pretty much back to back, and then I watched specific scenes again just to kind of watch again for details. So my favorite scene. I don't know if I have a favorite this episode. I think that just the reveal of Thrawn coming out, like they're seeing his troopers, like the Thrawn. And I'm like, yes, do it. And just kind of seeing that and the scale of it still, I did not think he was going to have that many troopers with him still. But then again, I think there's some magic going on there somewhere. According to, just the subtitles. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if we get some reveals there on what kind of magic is at work for some of his troops. And then also, that was probably my favorite scene, though, just to see the reveal, even though I knew it was coming. What else would you want to know about?
So you got favorite scenes. So, and then like things that, like last time, kind of maybe missed the mark. Like not necessarily were bad, but you're like, meh, maybe that could have been better, or things you weren't quite sure.
Yeah, like
about.
I just shake my head at Sabine this episode, like when she meets Ezra.
Yes.
And it like the entire time she's been acting on this thing to get back to Ezra, and then she didn't tell him how she got there.
She didn't tell him She didn't tell him anything.
I know. I mean, I feel like it's pretty important to tell him. By the way, I brought people that are probably hunting us right now.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yep.
And they're gonna help Thrawn get back to the galaxy because I'm not alone here. Like, in my head, it'd be smart to, cue him into that stuff. Just here you go. Let me give you actually the information that's gonna happen because you're gonna have to help me because otherwise I'm gonna be stuck here with you because I didn't bring a ship. Go figure. Hey.
I don't even know what her. Obviously, she doesn't know Ahsoka's coming, so I don't even know what her plan. What her plan is, because, I mean, they have one lightsaber between them.
Yes,
a bunch.
They're going to share that.
A bunch of turtle guys, and two blasters.
She also has a grapple,
which electrocutes. Yep. You're right.
Yep.
She does have that.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of question marks with that one.
And I mean, she's got something like the Force, but not really yet. So, but Ezra does. So, my favorite scene that just is for me personally, outside of the Thrawn reveal, because it builds my theory that Shin is going to flip and work with Sabine, was the Thrawn sending them out there after them, and she immediately questioned Baylan, like, I thought you were gonna let her keep a promise or keep your promise. And Thrawn immediately was like, he is. She's being allowed to find Ezra. Nobody promised she would survive.
Exactly.
So like, he didn't say that outright, but that's definitely what he meant, right? So and on top of that, we get the Thrawn scene later that he was like, the main priority is to get back to the other galaxy. I don't care about Ezra, Sabine, or your mercenaries. Like, my only goal is to get back. So if they're not back, they're stuck too.
Yeah, and I don't even think he cares about... I think his sole purpose is to get, obviously, him, whatever's in those boxes.
I think it's Night Sisters.
I mean, it has to be, right? That was one of the...
catacomb.
Right, exactly. And I don't even think he cares if Morgan goes back with him at all.
No, but he's made a deal with the other Night Sisters, so they got to go.
Yeah. That's something I want to talk about later when we get to some more of the discussion points. But yeah.
Anyway, so
sorry.
It just builds my theory. So I'm just like, yes, that's great. Love seeing that.
There were a lot of moments like that where she kind of questioned different things about, their purpose and, the alliance with Thrawn and everything like that. And the idea that Baylan is guiding her, but she's curious because she's not cued in to the long game here.
You haven't given me the plan yet, Master.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on the plan.
You're on a need to know basis, and you don't need to know. That's basically Baylan's MO right now.
That's how Sidious won everything. He kept everybody in the dark.
Pretty much.
and fed them a lot of BS.
Pretty much. Anything else with your initial thoughts?
No, those. I mean, that's it. I mean, the rock people, I could take or leave. I don't. I mean, I feel like if Ezra's in an encampment that large, even if they move around a lot, I can't believe Thrawn has not found him if he was actively searching him out. But hey, it's just me thinking out loud. So,
Yeah.
but those are the only like question mark things, like why Sabine acted like she did, and then why Ezra hasn't been found by Thrawn unless he wasn't looking for him. Yeah, because I truly think that we're gonna get the enemy of my enemy is my friend situation with Shin, and even potentially Baylan. You know, when they realize Thrawn doesn't care about any of them, that's a moment where like, well, this isn't gonna happen like he wants it to. But that was my theory already. So I'm just like, yeah, feed into it. In my galaxy, far, far away, I know my truth. I know my truth.
That's right. Yeah, so I'm kind of in the same boat as you with the Thrawn reveal. I came out of this because I've watched it twice now, but I've watched it a lot in bits and pieces again, like you kind of did, to watch specific specific scenes, specific dialogue. Because like I told you today, I kind of dove down the rabbit hole, and there's some really interesting things that, well, I'd like to talk about here in a little bit, but yeah, the official Thrawn reveal, which again, I wish they hadn't. I understand why they teased it in the trailers, but I really wish they would have held on to that sort of look until we got to actually see him in this episode. But that aside, the reveal of the
You
Knights.
always hope for that, though.
I know.
You always hope for that. Like you're like, why did they show us that? They shouldn't have shown us that.
I am glad that the Night Sisters, the Great Mothers, were kept a secret, because that was, as I was like, oh, what are they doing here? So but the tie-in to Greek and the Greek mythology tying into the Norse mythology, specifically in this episode, was excellent. The Sabine, my low points. I do agree that the Ezra reveal was really, really anticlimactic. After all of this searching, the fact that she's, as Thrawn says, thrown away or risked the entire fate of her, the galaxy for this hope that Ezra was alive, and everything that's been done to this point, we get him leaning against, a turtle shell trailer home. Like, it was very bland. And
well, I'm gonna say this, and you might have to edit me out. That's fine. But they couldn't have Sabine saved by Ezra from any kind of peril. He couldn't come in and be the hero. That wouldn't have played right currently in the story.
I suppose, but
that would have been more like, it would have been bigger though. Like if he would have showed up to help her against the bandits or whatever. Which, again, why doesn't she pull out the dang lightsaber first? First weapon of choice. Like, yeah. I don't understand it still.
Well, maybe she doesn't trust herself with it. Maybe it's, she's so ingrained with sort of her Mandalorian fighting style, which is the pistols and the gauntlets and everything like that.
I just want to be very, very clear. He was physically blocking blaster bolts multiple episodes now with her wrist guard. Are you telling me she couldn't do that with a lightsaber? No.
Well, she did deflect the blaster bolt right back into the guy's eye, into the dude's eye.
Yeah,
which is pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm just saying. I want her to I want her to commit to something.
I commit to a fighting style and stick to it.
Yeah.
I can support that. Yeah. The to your point about him not being able to like swoop in and save her, I also get that, but then don't have the reveal be this episode. I also recognize that this was already preordained months ago, right? I've seen the clip floating around now of Filoni asking the crowd at Celebration, "Do you want to know where he is?" And he says he's far, far away. And of course, that's what this episode title is, which is really cool, actually. By the way, so for me,
it's like he planned that.
It's like he wrote it or directed it or something.
Insane how he knew that.
Stunning. But another thing, the Thrawn stuff aside, I really enjoyed the expansion on Baylan and Shin, and their kind of relationship. Baylan's a little bit more of Baylan's backstory, or at least his motives, which, again, lead me into a theory that we can talk about a little bit later. So, but
General Baylan's cool,
which is cool because we're like, well, where, some of the questions have been where was he during Order 66? Like, what happened? So clearly he was at the same level as Anakin during the Clone Wars, right? Which makes sense. They're about the same age. They would be about the same age as, like, Vader and Baylan are about the same age. They appear to be about the same age anyways. In their late 50s, maybe early 60s, something like that. But that aside, their interactions were really interesting, especially in relation to the whole concept of fate and threads. And Shin mentioned that a couple, I think it was episode 2 or 3, what kind of thread is this? Spinning more threads with the witches, not her not trusting Morgan. And now we get obviously even more witches. And so she's even more skeptical of certain things. So and then the only other thing that I kind of had an issue with, I'm going to say this lightly, is I don't know what that choice for Thrawn's hairpiece was. And this is going to sound super nitpicky and stupid. It's going to sound stupid, and I get it. Like, he looked great. Like, I love that Lars is playing him. It felt like Thrawn. Well, obviously it sounded like him. Even his mannerisms, like, you could tell that he went back and kind of watched some of the animation to try and get some of the facial tics, some of the hand movements, the gait with his walking and stuff like that was very, you could tell that he'd gone back and not educated himself, but like taken from that. And so it felt very much like Thrawn, but I don't know, man, like where the part is in that wig is not, it's like it shifts, like it's the ever shifting part line. And yeah, that's going to sound really stupid, and it is really stupid, but
it's okay, Sean, I forgive you. I forgive you for judging his hair. I didn't really pay that much attention to his hair, but now I'll have to go watch that exclusively.
Again, everything else about him was excellent, and the look, and I loved the costuming choices, like with the fraying collar and the worn and tattered look to his uniform. I'm glad that nothing looks new. But and then the Night Troopers were cool, but yeah, that's kind of my, I guess, initial thoughts, initial reactions. So kind of some of the talking points, right? So obviously you got Thrawn, you got Ezra, you got Baylan and Shin, and then you got Peridia and the Night Sisters kind of as a society, right? And so with Peridia, we learn that it's the Dathomiri homeworld, which is kind of cool. Like Lyra San was for the Lasats in Rebels, right? We kind of learned that the Dathomiri come from Peridia. It's also a Purgle graveyard, which is kind of interesting as well. I did enjoy that the ring around the planet was made up of
It's just bones,
Purgle bones.
Purgle.
So that's kind of cool. So so your thoughts, I guess, about on the reveal of the Night Sister home planet, or of Peridia being the Night Sister home planet. What did you think when that got revealed?
I mean, I'm not surprised it wasn't, Dathomir.
Mm-hmm.
I think based on the other species that are on Dathomir, I think it plays to the Night Sisters being from somewhere else originally. And then the fact of how old some of them are. I mean, for instance, in Clone Wars and everything, we got Mother Talzin, We don't know exactly how old she was, but thousands of years sounds good in most respects, right? So I'm not surprised that they come from some ancient power of mystics. So, I mean, I'm good with it. I mean, they seem like they hold powers from another realm, basically. So
Hmm.
I'm not surprised it's an entirely different galaxy.
Well, and the fact that so the signifying of having three of them, which we saw that in the Temple on Arcana, the fact that they are named almost identically after the three fates from Greek
Hmm.
mythology. So they're effectively gods, right? Or immortal. The great mothers are immortal, because the fates were immortal. But the Greek fates, and I've got it written here over here to the side, were Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos. Right, that was their the Greek names, and the Star Wars versions of them are Clotho with a K, Lachesis, and Octopaw. So they are named exactly after the three fates from Greek mythology. And, you know,
And that plays off our mercenaries pretty well.
it does. And the, so I said it kind of in the intro, the spinning of Greek into Norse mythology and the mythology of Star Wars being, what Shin and Baylan discuss, right, about the stories and the folk tales and stuff like that. So the concept of mythology within Star Wars, I think, is really, really cool, right? Because we see the obvious tropes within Star Wars telling, right, within Star Wars tales. But the fact that within the Star Wars universe, they have their own sort of internal mythology, I think is a really, really cool concept and a way to like kind of give that feeling that this society could actually, like, this universe's galaxy could actually exist, right? Not that it does, of course, but, by giving it that history and stuff like that, that the characters buy into within their own existence, I think is a really neat concept that, well, up until this point, I don't know that outside of the Force, right? You don't have a lot of characters talking about, like, necessarily ancient stories or, you know, that sort of concept, or, anyways. I got off track there. That
Yeah,
was me. That was me
no, you're good.
rambling.
No, it's good. I know we didn't really go into depth on talking about the mythology behind Baylan Skull and Shinhati originally, but um, wrapping that around back to other mythology, and like you said, like at this point, we're diving really deep into Star Wars mythology,
Hmm.
and they're just stories. Well, maybe they're not all just completely stories, so it's kind of cool. So yeah, I agree. No, I really enjoyed that about the episode.
Yeah, and the well, I'll save my big theory for Balin to the end. So speaking of Balin, right? So we get him lamenting the repeated cycles and telling Shin that if the stories are true, then in theory, the end or the beginning of the end or a new beginning can be found on Peridia. Talks to her about perhaps the Night Sisters fleeing, a greater power. So what, I guess, where's your thoughts as far as, one, what's calling to him, right? And then two, kind of what's the long game for Balin? Like, where does he see this trending?
You know what's crazy is there's a lot of TV shows and movies that have done similar things to this, right? Where there's a character fulfilling the prophecy for the greater good of whatever, right? Game of Thrones had, the spider who was um, always talking about the greater good of the realm, and that's why he did everything he did, even though some of the things were evil. Um, and I know you have another mention of something else that I'm not going to take. I'm not going to steal your thunder after I saw the text, the text messages back and forth today about. You know what I'm talking about now.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm not going to steal your thunder, but it's very interesting that we have a character in Star Wars that's just like, I'm playing for the benefit of everyone, or the greater. I'm not going to call it the greater good, but the best possible outcome for the galaxy. So, and we already talked about how Baylan is very in tune with everything. Like I'm pretty sure he has peeked into the future multiple times, to kind of see what could happen.
Right.
I honestly don't have any good theories on who he's looking for. He's definitely looking for something, though. I'm not going to call it someone. I don't know if it's a physical person versus an entity that is not a physical entity. So I don't have any good theories on that. What do you got?
Well, so there's the big theory of floating around now that it's Aboleth who's calling to him, right? That's the I don't know. It's all over YouTube and social media, right? Like that they're going to bring the mother of the Mortis gods into canon, and while that would be really cool, I feel like they certainly could do it, but I think it would be a little too obscure for the common viewer. Not to mention she would completely and utterly overshadow Thrawn, which maybe is possible. Like that's not necessarily a bad thing. I do think it's interesting that Aboleth is the bringer of chaos, like that's her nickname, and Skull is Norse it means chaos. So the fact that he and her are kind of, they're not intertwined, of course, but I think the likelihood that it's going to be Aboleth is low. However, I don't exactly know. I've seen other people say they use Vong, which is they're a very popular race from the novels, and the terror that they reign over the New Republic in the books is absurd, and it would more or less be kind of like a Star Wars equivalent to Ragnarok, Armageddon, and that's kind of my theory, is that Baylan is, and I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead, but we're here talking about him anyway. So I think that Baylan has this view of Ragnarok in Star Wars, right? It's going to be the Star Wars equivalent of Ragnarok. And because Ragnarok, right, for those who, don't keep up on Marvel stuff or read their Norse mythology, right, is the end of, it's Armageddon. It's the Norse version of Armageddon. And it's the end of one cycle and it's the beginning of something new. And like I said, Baylan laments the fact that it's the rise, fall of the Jedi, the rise of the Empire. Everything is so inevitable. He becomes tired of the cycle. It begins again and again and again. And in Norse mythology, Skull, the wolf, he gets tired of chasing the sun. Like he becomes bored of it. And Odin kind of has to keep poking him, like, this is your job. But don't worry, when Ragnarok comes, you get to eat the sun and your effort will be worth it, right? And, the fact that Skull and Hati are the children of Fenrir, who's the child of Loki, mischief and chaos and deception, right? And it gets us into the whole deceiving, death and what was Thrawn's quote? Death and resurrection being used is a common deception used by both Jedi and Night Sister, right? So like all of it is tying together for like the greater battle to come. And I think that whatever is calling to him is I think in his mind gonna help precipitate that end of days sort of thing in Star Wars.
I will say the only argument I have towards some of that stuff, which, I mean, those are some out there theories, right, on who's going to show up. And like you said, very obscure. The only problem I have with a lot of those about anyone really powerful showing up or anything else, Thrawn's been there for a long time with the Night Sister. So, like, they haven't sought them out. Neither side has sought the other one out. Granted, the galaxy is probably bigger than just one planet, right? But at the same point, like, no one's interested in getting away from this one planet. So how have they not crossed each other? Or how has Ezra not randomly stumbled onto anything else while he migrates around the planet surface? I don't know. There's a lot of question marks for me that would lead me to believe that I don't think we're going to get any of those characters that you spoke of, just because, like you said, they're very obscure characters. Like, it's not like you can make a jump to those
right
easily. So, and I haven't seen. I mean, I didn't watch any YouTube this week. I've been way too busy, so I have not seen any theories about that. So, you telling me that was news to me, and I'm like, while I can understand why they want to see it, or kind of like some hints and names and stuff like that that point towards something, I can't see it happening, just because you've got too powerful of people that we've already met. Thrawn is an incredibly powerful individual with a garrison with him, and then you've got the Night Sister gods, or the mothers, like.
Well,
You telling me people are? Are you telling me there's another powerful force on their planet that they just don't mess with ever?
So the thing with Aboleth, if it did happen to be her, is that she is confined to like a prison, quote unquote prison, right?
Until set free.
And there's stories, like there's points where she breaks free, and then the son and the daughter had to put her back in, right? Well, now the son and the daughter aren't around anymore. And so if she breaks out, and there's, again, in Legends, Luke actually, Mara Jade ends up fighting her and like putting her back, I guess. So, I mean, it's possible that she's hidden from, while the Great Mothers have a great deal of foresight, I think it's contained to the threads that exist, which is life, right? So Thrawn's thread is known, it's predetermined, it's preordained, right? That's why they say at the end, the threads of destiny demands it, right? Like, your time's not over, so yeah, we know that you're going to ask us for more magic because we know how long your thread is. We know your not your purpose, but we know what's going to happen in your life. And so, and that's the thing with the fates, is they stretch out the length of yarn or the length of string. They figure out how long it's going to be, and then they snip it, and then that's your life. And so Thrawn has his thread. Presumably Baylan, Shin, Morgan, all of them have their own threads. But it's only Thrawn's we care about. So I'm hoping that whatever they decide to have it be, if it even gets revealed, that it's not some sort of I just hope it's not like a hallucination, because that would be really like he just imagined it the whole time sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and the other piece of it is, I was going to say, like, I know you brought up the brother or the son and the daughter, right? Technically, the daughter's on her way.
Perhaps. Because you want to know something that's fun, is that the Fates are known as the Morai. And what's the bird? Oh, it's the Morai. And I actually was browsing Wikipedia today, and that was something that I know I read, and I was like, oh, they also have noted the comparison between the two and the fact that it is likely not an accident. So it's all interwoven.
Weird.
So that's my theory on Star Wars Ragnarok. So take that with
Star
take
Wars Ragnarok.
take that how you will. Eventually, Thrawn or Thor, and everybody's gonna come in and beat people up. Anyways, the big reveal with Thrawn, we get the Night Troopers, Enoch, and the others, right? And there's a lot of discussion around what exactly they are. The common theory is that they're undead, reanimated like Marok, as we see them wrapped in the red threads and put together with some sweet gold paint and stuff like that.
We're gonna see a lot of smoke when Ezra shows up.
What I was gonna say, what are your? Do you subscribe to the theory that they are reanimated troopers?
I believe that there are quite a few of them that are definitely. I believe there's still some that have survived, but really without supplies and everything else for that much time, Thrawn even said it. Like, we've been here for a long time. We've lost a lot of troops. So, I still think that I don't think all the troops are dead and reanimated, but I'm sure there's quite a few.
Well, that begs the question then, so they talk about losing their numbers, and we see Ezra with chainmail made from what looks to be old dog tags. And if it's not dog tags, I mean, that's a theory that's going around. If it's not that, then I want to know where he built his chainmail from. But if they're just reanimated corpses, then in theory, unless they're actually physically destroyed, they should just be able to be reanimated. So they have to be getting destroyed somehow for their numbers to be dwindling. And
Ezra's been throwing them off the cliff, like you see in Jedi Fallen Order.
Just yeeting them.
Yeah, you're out. You're done. I'm over it.
Because that's the thing. Like, he has no weapons. So, like,
force push.
How
force
is
push.
he defeating?
Force push.
So
he's been just deflecting blaster bolts with the force.
I mean, I don't know what else it could be. Like, and it sounds stupid, right? When you say that, like, he has no other weaponry. So
that we know about.
Right. So presuming
maybe he found one. Maybe he reveals his lightsaber next episode. He found a kyber crystal.
That lights. Okay, got it. Yep. Perhaps it's that.
What lightsaber?
I mean, he's been by himself for a long time, John.
Never mind.
I mean, anyways, he just seemed
innuendo.
He just seemed very happy to see Sabine. That's inappropriate, and the
fan fiction's already started.
We're just gonna leave it there. That's us having fun here at what time is it? It's 12:15. So that's just the loopy thoughts that happen after midnight. This is the after midnight portion of the show.
Welcome.
The after dark. Here. So presuming that they are undead, or most of them are reanimated troopers, right? Enoch presumably isn't. And the only reason I say that is because of his, I guess, demeanor, right? So Thrawn talks about the agreement he makes with the Night Sisters. Obviously, they're moving the caskets, or the presumed caskets. Do you think his plan or his agreement is to take everybody back with him and then help them repopulate Dathomir again?
I mean, I would assume it's something like that, yeah. I don't see how he would make any other deal with them, because they're only interested in that and power. So,
well, again, like I said, the Great Mothers, I don't think they're after power, right? They're gods, they're deities, or at least that's how I view them, right? Like, I don't think that they are. They're definitely not mortal beings, right? So I suspect that their whole plan is to stay there, like to hang out there. Like, I don't know that they would come back. Maybe they would. But if it isn't to repopulate Dathomir, is there anything else that they could possibly be doing with a bunch of undead or a bunch of deceased Night Sisters?
Not really, other than give Thrawn an army of the undead.
What about Maul? You think you bring back Maul?
I hope not. I don't know how they'd have to find him.
Do you think Thrawn wants to
Thrawn's-
bring back Maul?
Thrawn's gonna go find Maul's dead body on Tatooine
I don't know. I mean,
that he didn't even know he died on.
I just think it's gonna be funny when Thrawn finds
You
out.
think Obi-Wan burned that body, or do you think he just cut it up into many pieces since he survived one slice? He really carved him up this time.
I would like to think that Obi-Wan gave him a proper burial, like on a pyre.
I think so too.
So
I think so too.
I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have done that, given their history. But yeah. So then with Thrawn, you get at the end, right, the reveal that Ahsoka's on her way, riding the space traveler. And
They're gonna kill some star whales.
that's gonna be something that I don't even know. Yeah, there's a lot to kind of unfold these last two episodes. But I loved Thrawn asking Morgan to get the backstory on Ahsoka, like her homeworld and who her master was. And the fun thing is that when he finds out that it's Anakin Skywalker, I mean, he knows.
He's not gonna be very happy about that.
He knows.
Oh yeah,
Anakin.
he knows. Well, he knows Vader very well.
Right. Well, exactly. So he's not.
From the books.
He's not going to
For
be
all those
pleased.
who don't know from the books,
He's not going to be pleased with when he finds that out.
they were forced on a team up that neither one of them really enjoyed.
Right. So the addition of dark magic that they're going to need, or that he's going to need. Let's speculate ahead. What do you think it's going to be?
I don't know.
Anything? You got nothing?
What do you think? What do you think he's gonna have to use?
I have no. I mean, the only thing I can think of is if
He doesn't know Ahsoka. He doesn't know Ahsoka yet.
True.
And he basically said we're gonna need more, but he doesn't even know what he needs yet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's something
Unless it's more troops.
Well, that's the thing. Are they like? Do they reanimate more things? Is there something elsewhere on the planet that they could, nearby that they could use?
Giants.
I have no.
They have giants.
I mean, they might. You never know. I mean, the
orcs are coming. I think it's the orcs.
the orcs are coming. Don't be cross pollinating stories now. Don't be doing that. They're gonna be the
Just
trees.
saying.
They're gonna be
I mean,
Treebeard.
I imagine it's something else on the planet. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. There's something else on the planet that Thrawn knows can be awakened.
But
Or
then
maybe
then that has to be the thing that Baylan's talking about then, right? Like that's got to be like they have to. They're probably like one and the same, right? No, maybe I don't know. I don't know.
I don't have it.
Real quick, jumping back to Ezra, because we have been building to this so long. What exactly, what has he been? I've seen some thoughts about. Okay, well, what's he been doing this whole time? Has he been training himself in dark magic? Right, he's clothed in red, right, just like everybody else is on that planet. Apparently, is he practicing his force abilities? Like what has he been doing for the better part of a decade?
I imagine he's still been training in some aspect, and he still has a threat of Thrawn out there. And based on his chainmail, like he's ran into enemies. And beyond that, I mean, Sabine going out to find him ran into random enemies, so I don't doubt that he's still been training in some faction. And like I said, what if he found a kyber crystal there? I'm not going to be surprised if he pulls out a lightsaber. That is a surprise.
That's true, and it's funny you say that because one of the coolest things, and this is what kind of led me down the rabbit hole, is that I was, we talked I think a few episodes ago about who could have built the altar on Cetos and the ancients and everything like that, right? And I mentioned the Zepho, along with the Celestials, right? And who would be Aboleth, but the fact that there are Zepho runes in or on that temple, right? All but confirmed that the Zepho had been there. And then I was doing some research for the show today, and Khajet, and I think I may have mentioned it when we talked about this, but he was the Zepho sage who ended up dabbling in the dark side. And I say dabbling, he was full on like embracing it. And, he has his temple, or his tomb is on Dathomir. Well, I happened to pop onto Wikipedia, and wouldn't you know it, it turns out that on the on some part of that temple, or whatever you want to call it, on Peridia, is an inscription that reads, where's it at? Give me a second. Where's it at? Oh, sorry. Ah, there it is. So it says, at some point during his life, Khajet ruled over the planet Peridia. And it says on the outside of the temple, it says, "Glory to Khajet, ruler of all. May his reign be everlasting." So there is a strong Force connection there as well, because of the Zepho presence, despite it being questionable in its intention. Because of the three sages, he's the worst one. He ends up having some sort of massacre occur in his tomb. It's not good on Dathomir, but it's not surprising that Khajet, who is the dark side sage, who is heavily tied to Dathomir, would have ruled at some point on Peridia. So I thought that was a really I don't know if it's an Easter egg or if it's like part of the bigger story, but we know for a fact that the Zepho sages were on Peridia at some point within the last, I don't know, 1,000 years, few hundred centuries, something like that. So that's pretty cool.
Pretty cool stuff.
So yeah, that's really all I have on that right now.
Yep.
So grades, thoughts. What would you give this? We'll run through IMDb reviews real quick.
I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
And I love Thrawn and that showing up. I really was not happy with Sabine and Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole episode, basically. So
yeah, I agree. I actually texted you guys after I watched it. And I was like, And the reason why is because I was more confused than anything. I'm still kind of confused after watching it multiple times, and the theorizing and the speculation is a blast. But the fact that I feel like the bulk of the episode centered around Sabine's relationship with the Howler, which was cool. The practical effect was cool. The CGI was pretty good. I did think some of the CGI backgrounds were a bit hit or miss, especially in the hangar bay when Thrawn was walking out. It was a little off, but again, I'm getting nitpicky on that. But the reveal of Ezra by way of the turtles, it was just kind of okay. So yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'll probably give it an 8 too. Yeah, I give it an 8 as well. Pause for dramatic effect. So 11,000.
It's like a 9.
11,000 reviews, or sorry, ratings. 8.3 out of 10.
Huh?
So 56 user reviews. I did not pre-scan these ahead of time, so Let's see what we got here. Posey fan, 9 out of 10. So he or she's still enjoying it. So a couple 5 out of 10s. The first sentence of this one says, still just not very good. It says, main problem with this episode is that Sabine just isn't fun. Kind of goes to what we discussed about some of the questionable choices.
More questionable choices from the Padawan.
Which is interesting. I'm with you. I don't understand why she didn't give Ezra anything. I don't know what she's, trying to protect him from. Got a couple 4 out of 10s, but then you got 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 2 out of 10. What is this one? It says Thrawn, more like yawn. So slow dialogue, slower pacing.
Have they seen Rebels? That's the question I have.
This one says 1 out. Oh no, sorry, I misread that. I thought that said 1 out of 10, and it said exciting. I was like, ooh. 3 out of 10. I really did try to like this. I think a lot of it seems to do with pacing. Some of the dialogue, or some of the writing, but here's another one. Everyone is in agreement that Ray Stevenson is the GOAT. Baylan Skull is.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we're never gonna see it again.
It is really sad.
But yeah, he dude, everybody that I talk to wants more Baylan. Like everybody wants more. So
yeah,
I hope we get a little bit more backstory, but we're not gonna get much. That's gonna be too much to.
Yeah, we're
too much to talk about with too little time.
Yeah, and I feel like we're setting ourselves up for a season 2, and there, or at least multiple seasons. Maybe there's more than 2, but I feel like the story is trending towards not finishing the story, and it's just really sad that Ray will not be a part of it, going forward. And I don't know that you can recast that character because of how well he's played him to this point. I mean, you could. I just don't know that it would be. I just don't think it would be very good. So, but yeah, look. So again, smattering of lower level or lower ratings, kind of like with every episode. Most of the bad reviews are in that 5 or 6 range, and then you've got 9s and 10s sprinkled throughout. So, again, 8.3 out of 10 for the IMDb rating. So
just wait until they just go back and reset the whole season, because bad stuff happens, because Ahsoka did it how she did it, but now with all this knowledge, she uses the
no, she's not doing
to go back and reset it. That way she's in a white cloak when she gets to Sabine at the painting.
Oh,
and then she can say, instead of I need to go find Thrawn, it's let's go find Ezra. Boom. Reset the season.
You know how mad people will be if that happens.
Oh, everyone will be so upset, but I'll laugh.
Oh my goodness, that would be the ultimate middle finger, I think. I know they won't do that, but that would be the ultimate.
No, they're not going to do it.
Middle finger to Star Wars fans. Anything else with this episode that you want to chat about? Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I'm sure somebody will text us tomorrow and say, "Oh, I really wish you would have talked about this."
Perhaps.
I'm sure there's always one thing. There's always one thing that we don't hit on too much, but I feel like this episode was chock full of a lot of references to things that have not been seen on screen before. So it's tough not to go down that rabbit hole into all the things that they could bring into the universe that no one's going to know what they are, except for the people that read the books or played the game or anything like that. So it goes back to the fans that get really upset when they're like, I shouldn't have to watch or read everything to understand what's going on in these shows. So I'm curious to see how much we're gonna get from that. That's why I don't think it's gonna be like the Mortis mother or any. I mean, I just don't. I don't know. Too far fetched for me, but we'll see. I won't be upset if that's what happens, but I mean, I don't think. I think it's gonna be too deep of a cut.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. This episode was very much laying the groundwork for definitely the last two episodes, while still revealing Thrawn and Ezra. So again, I'm really happy with how Thrawn turned out. Voicing, cadence, all of that stuff was excellent. Baylan and Shin, still, excellent characters growing. Their arc is ever expanding by the episode. And yeah, Sabine with the questionable decisions. I'm hoping that there's some sort of payoff for all of this, because again, right now it doesn't really jive for me, from her decision on the henge.
Yeah,
to
like
the
what happens
decision
if
now.
Baylan and Shin show up with the mercenaries or whoever those other guys are? Sorry, they're not mercenaries, but
The bandits,
the locals. Yeah,
the locals.
the locals. But they're gonna show up with them, and then all of a sudden, she's gonna be like, "Oh, by the way, they are the ones that let me get here,"
Yeah.
and they probably want to kill us right now. Like,
Yeah. All right, so we'll bring our discussion then to a close there. So as we close this episode, I want to thank you all for listening. Again, be sure to check the show notes for information on our upcoming appearance at CapeCon, as well as links to our social media channels. Again, if you did enjoy what you heard and you aren't already following the show, please consider doing so, and leaving a rating if you're so inclined. But with that, it's time for us to discover our own way off Peridia. So for Jedi John, I'm Obi Sean. Until next time.
may the Force be with you.